right, welcome everybody. We are back here today to talk about a really important conversation. I talked about this on another podcast with Jordan Mazer, who actually, Rachel, you know, right? And we talked about personalized or precision nutrition. And I love this topic because it is just a booming topic, first off. And it's being recognized as the better way to go about nutrition for the general population, but also people that are exercising or athletes. And it just gives you a more tailored approach to nutrition, which is how we should do it anyway, right? We talk about prescription in terms of exercise, prescription in terms of medication, but some people forget that we need to talk about that with regard to nutrition. So I have here today Rachel Sanders, and I'll let her introduce herself. But Rachel, can you tell us your story, your trajectory, how you got to where you are, and maybe what you do a little bit, and your passion about precision or personalized nutrition?
Yeah, definitely. So hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. Really agree. Precision nutrition is an important topic, and data-driven health is really the trend and where we're seeing the market going. So excited to be on and chatting about it. So my role, I am CEO and co-founder of Rootine, and Rootine is a precision nutrition startup that is focused on optimizing health and human performance. And what we do is we leverage AI to look at individual test results across genetics, blood levels, and health habits to create an accurate formula specifically around micronutrients for your body and then deliver it in precision dosing. We also have a digital experience that allows people to track and improve their health through a variety of tools. And my journey to kind of where I am and the precision nutrition space is really a really personal one. So I had been dealing with stress and fatigue for a number of years. And after graduating from business school, I was working on another startup and really looking to optimize my own health and daily performance, and really started looking at my health stack. So what I was doing across exercise, across sleep and nutrition, and dialing in on the nutrition side. I was really looking at the market to find something that was personalized based on earlier experiences I had with kind of the medical realm. I knew that I needed something that was unique. And at the same time, I was really digging in. I connected with our co-founder, Dr. Daniel Wallerstoffer. He has a PhD in biotechnology, which means he kind of looks at how human data points interact and specifically around nutrition. He was also trying to kind of optimize his own health and looking at it from a much more kind of science and data-driven approach. And we really connected and came together and saw that today consumers have this great access to abundance of health data. There are thousands of clinical studies that show how micronutrients and nutrition specifically matter on an individualized way, but consumers didn't have the tools to efficiently use the data they had to make better decisions throughout their life and in their nutrition. And so Daniel and I were really inspired to make an impact and driven by a mission to really empower people to leverage their health data to improve how they look, feel, and perform every day. And that's how we launched Rootine.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that because I think data is this sort of up and coming thing. People are loving science, which is weird because I think in the past they either didn't trust it or they didn't know, the sources to look for. But now people are so invested in optimizing their health, and they're realizing that they have to do it based on like hard data, which is their data, which is what you guys accumulate and analyze. So I think that's great. And I would love to get into that a little bit more later for sure, exactly what you guys look at and the data points that you're looking at for specific things. Mm-hmm. But I do want to start first with what the broad umbrella definition of precision nutrition is. Like, how would you define precision nutrition?
Yeah, definitely. So it's still an emerging category. So there's not one definition for kind of exactly what it is, but precision medicine, the concept of using data points to personalize treatment plans and medication plans is a little bit more well known, but people are really taking this approach of using a wide variety of data points to create personalized approaches to health overall. And that's really what precision nutrition is. So you're not looking at a single data point. So you're not just looking at your lifestyle, you're not just looking at your genetics, or you're not just looking at blood or microbiome. You're really combining a variety of biomarkers, as they're called, so health data points, both on the digital side and on kind of that more like internal biology side, to craft unique products, to craft unique solutions and plans that are really tailored to each individual. And to your point, people are much more interested in this approach now. And I think it's for a variety of reasons, right? So there's this new group of empowered health consumers that have access to data that they were never able to get before. Really a lot of advances in testing, technology, and distribution approaches. People realize that they can get data about their bodies, which they couldn't get before. But now there's a question of, okay, I have all of this data, I've gotten these insights. What is the next step? How can I use this data to improve my health, whether it's my exercise, my fitness, and specifically within this precision nutrition space, nutrition. And nutrition really breaks down across macronutrients, so the fats, proteins, and carbs of the world, and micronutrients. And where I specifically specialize in and where Rootine is on the micronutrient side. But there's implications across both macronutrients and micronutrients related to what your data says you need and what those results that you're getting, and how you can not only take the inputs that you have, but track your outcomes to further personalize and further improve the treatment planning.
Yeah. And you mentioned so many good things there. I want to come back to the fact that when you were explaining it, I felt like, man, this seems involved. You're saying not just one data point, you have many data points. And it got me thinking, when you go, let's say, to the doctor's office, they measure these common assessments like BMI, they're measuring blood pressure and all of this stuff. But it's rare that they sort of like integrate everything, like you're saying, into one bundled up package to give you recommendations on what to do. And it's sort of outdated in a sense. I mean, a lot of doctors don't keep up with the research. They also don't keep up with current advancements in technology and, let's say, blood markers or anything out there. And so although it's involved, I feel like it gives you such a robust analysis of what's going on in your body. And it also makes me think that people that are interested in this really have to invest in it, right? I mean, you're not going to have the standard average Joe that really doesn't care about their health invest in something like this. Like, they may just go to their doctor. So it takes a lot of forward thinking to invest in something like this. But I think because it's so involved, you're going to get such a great output for it. And then on the back end, and I think you've mentioned this before, part of your business, which we can get into later, is then maybe even providing supplements or providing consultation and what you should do, rather than at the doctor's office, I give you a script for medication and I say, I'm recommending you to exercise 150 minutes per week and all this stuff. Like, you're actively trying to change people's lives based on their robust data points. And I love that. I think it's such a great approach.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. It sounds very complex and complicated, and a large hurdle to get started. And it doesn't have to be. So precision nutrition in the ideal state can involve a lot of data, and that can be really challenging. But you can even start to think about over 50% of the US alone has some sort of wearable where they're tracking their sleep, they're tracking their activity levels. And how can we use that data to create more personalized solutions? And then how can we layer on 30 million people have taken a kind of consumer ancestry DNA test. And a lot of those DNA tests contain the genetic variants, or the SNPs as we call them, that matter when you're looking at nutrition. And so how can we use that data that people already have? And then when you think about, folks going to the doctor, often micronutrients, so vitamins, minerals, and specialty compounds, are not tested unless there's a symptom that needs to be figured out. So a lot of people aren't even getting their levels tested if they feel normal. And so that is something where people are going out and they're getting testing done. They're asking labs, they're ordering tests online, and they get access to this data too. It's just a lot of that is siloed, right? So you have your wearables, you have your genetic testing from this other company, you have blood testing from another company, and the next step is really how do we combine it in a really intelligent way, and how do we use technology, use science to make that combination make sense for the consumers without making it hard. And so that's something I think about a lot is how do you take this concept of precision nutrition, which is available to professional athletes, so like Jordan would be talking about, that's able, or really kind of wealthy individuals who maybe have worked with a functional medicine doctor. How do you bring that approach and make it more accessible to folks that don't have the time or the resources to invest all of that, as you mentioned, but make it easier for them?
Yeah. I'm curious too, now my science brain is going, how do you incorporate all your data? Do you model? Is it scientific modeling, or how do you take all of that whole bundle, put it together, and then come out with?
Yeah, it's a very complex process that kind of was put together. And what we do, or what we've done, is we started with thousands of clinical studies and layered on scientific review across both clinicians and scientists to determine what studies are actually relevant. And then from those studies, determining what data points can be matched to those clinical studies and kind of the outcomes or the results that have been seen. And then use that to create an algorithm in AI that can match, ingest, analyze, and provide those actionable insights and those kind of personalized products. Is really how we go about doing it. And then you kind of continuously review the research as it comes out, and continue that process.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. It takes some brain power for sure, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about too, I want to ask you if you've noticed if there are specific type of people that are investing in precision nutrition. Like the first thing that comes to my mind, to be honest, are athletes. I feel like they would love this, but you also talk about people using precision nutrition for a health approach, like in your case with your history and your story. But I wonder what kind of people are looking into precision nutrition and why they're looking into precision nutrition.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. I will say the kind of the vast majority are these empowered health consumers, which are much more on the biohacker or high performance lifestyle. They're really using data throughout their life and want to make more informed health decisions with data. And though kind of the idea over time is to democratize access to data for a wide kind of mass market opportunity, the folks that are really investing the time and the resources that we talked about are these people who are using data throughout their life, and maybe they're athletes, they're executives, they're parents, but they're just looking to optimize how they live and feel every day. And that's really where we're seeing the market. But we are seeing trends towards that group of people opening up over time, especially as health data becomes more accessible, and there's more and more people that are using data to make decisions, whether it's in real estate or investing or health, that there's going to be a kind of a wider swath of individuals who invest in that process.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm curious too, going back to the doctor's office conversation, is there, or let me ask it like this, are you trying to get into doctors' offices for a more translation or translatable approach to your area of science? Like, are you trying to market your product to doctors' offices to have a wider reach, let's say, to the general public?
Yeah, great question. So we have a number of clinicians as advisors and investors in our company, and they've really chosen to work with us because we are able to offer a solution that they may have offered previously in a less expensive, more accessible, and more personalized way. So our products are dosed on a one-to-one basis, which is basically unheard of in the market. So the precision dosing is really unique as well. But currently we are a digitally native, so direct to consumer product, not selling through doctors' offices, but continuing to involve clinicians in our product development decisions, in our science. And as we think about kind of expanding access to our products, it's definitely a market that we are interested in and already touching a bit through our advisory board and our investors.
Yeah, because I mean, how easy would that be for a doctor to basically prescribe your services to that patient and say, you know, collect this data, send it to Routine, and then we have this whole analysis that we can talk about, and on a medical level too. So you do the legwork as Routine, and then sitting down knee to knee, they can talk with their doctor about what they actually should do, not outdated recommendations. I think that would be so awesome.
Yeah, and really empower that, in that case, that patient to have access to these insights in addition to their doctor to spark a conversation and really further personalize the approach is definitely something that would be very unique and interesting for us.
Yeah. So I want to talk to a little bit about what you're actually testing. You mentioned a few things. You mentioned things like sleep trackers, any kind of wearable. But there's a huge array of what can be tested when you're looking at precision nutrition. So are there different categories of things that you can test? And can you give examples of what maybe you guys test or what you've seen being tested and what can be put together?
No, that's a great question. There is an abundance, which is great for the consumer market. There's an abundance of ways to test and different biomarkers to test. So specifically for us, we have a cellular nutrition foundation product, which incorporates 19 vitamins, minerals, and specialty nutrients. So all of our testing and the data that we look at is specifically related to how can we personalize those products on an N=1 basis with in a scientifically and like data-driven way. And so what that means to us starting out is looking at lifestyle, things like age, weight, biological sex, diet, activity levels, and then layering on genetics. Specifically, we test about 50 genetic variations or SNPs that have all been proven across multiple research reports to have an impact on how the body metabolizes, utilizes, or processes the nutrients or the need for kind of additional support across health condition categories. And then we also look at blood levels, specifically related to the micronutrients. And then we have the option to look at metabolite testing as well. Metabolite testing is a kind of next gen blood test opportunity that looks at the byproduct of specific nutrients and can tell how the nutrients are actually functioning within the body versus just the level, which dives a bit deeper into kind of your specific needs. And then we're going to be adding in more of that wearable data, which will inform kind of that lifestyle segment, and then looking at ways to add on to additional data points that can inform across the genetics and the blood testing side. A couple of interesting things that we've seen in the market. So of course, there's microbiome testing related to probiotics. That is not kind of where we are in the market. So I don't have a ton of expertise or knowledge on that, but that is an option that people can test. And we do know that gut health is very important for overall health as well. And probiotics can really support that. There's also a number of new kind of sensor data being developed. So biowearables. There's continuous glucose monitors, which have been in the past year really exploded and giving consumers access to that data. I've had a continuous glucose monitor on and really seen some interesting insights. And there are opportunities to tie glucose levels and metabolic health with micronutrients. There's an abundance of research around how metabolic health disorders actually create deficiencies in specific micronutrients, and alternatively that micronutrients impact metabolic health. So that's an area that we're definitely looking at, and there's the ability to do so. I was asked at one point in the last month what I would really love to see tested, and something that would be really interesting is kind of a continuous monitor for stress levels. So like looking at cortisol or other biomarkers that is in development. I know there are some interesting companies working on it, not something that exists today, but that will just continue to explode over the next decade, where we're going to have access to our unique, the way our bodies uniquely process a variety of, whether it's stress, glucose, micronutrients, energy levels, things like that, that we haven't had access to before.
Yeah, that's all some amazing stuff. You mentioned the metabolites. I've done a lot of research with acylcarnitine concentrations and all of these metabolites that, like you're saying, can inform you about how your body metabolizes things or the efficiency with which your body metabolizes things. So acylcarnitines are a representative of sort of this mismatch between nutrient supply and the supply that our body and our tissues need. Mm-hmm. And so stuff like that is awesome because it'll tell you maybe what you need to up or lower or increase or reduce in terms of carbs, fats, or proteins, or if you need to add some exercise to become more efficient in fat oxidation. It's just so interesting.
Yeah. And we're on the earlier stages, I would say, of education around it. And as a culture, and as a kind of consumer base, as well as the testing. There is a lot of testing kind of set up around genetic testing and like traditional blood level testing, less so on the metabolite side. So that's really where, as research continues and as folks on the clinician and kind of scientist side dig in further, that testing is going to become more prevalent because, based on my understanding, I do not have a PhD in biotechnology. I'm not a scientist, but our co-founder does, and kind of have a conversation with him. It's a better way to have a approximation around what's going on in your body, because even if you're getting an adequate amount of a certain micronutrient, your body could just not be processing it for a variety of reasons in the way that should be. And so there's most of the time a one-to-one extra data point alongside everything else that you can look at to really dial in even further on that precision nutrition approach.
Yeah, that's great. I do think it's interesting too, because you mentioned sometimes you have to educate the people that you're serving. And I'm wondering, you collect all this data, you analyze it, you create this little bundle, and you give recommendations based on that. But what kind of education are you doing? And are you educating these people like you do? Let's say you do, in this instance, have some kind of metabolite screening and you give them a whole list of metabolites. What kind of education, or how are you relaying education to these consumers?
Yeah, we really, we're kind of operating at the forefront of optimizing cellular nutrition around precision kind of dosing, precision nutrition, et cetera. It is a relatively new category that there is education involved, and we're doing it in a variety of ways, from kind of overarching community content to specific education around your specific test results, stemming from folks that have interacted with us just once, to people who have been with us for over a year. And so we really take a holistic approach to the education, and it's personalized. Our whole company is based on personalization and precision. So that's kind of how we approach the content and education as well. So folks that have uploaded test results they have or done tests with us can see personalized content and education related to their data points, and how those data points interact with micronutrients individually, and then how those data points interact with each other as well on the digital dashboard that we have. But we also dive deeper into specific micronutrients and what is the current research saying, how are people looking at like by nutrient precision, and that content goes out through kind of our email and newsletter information as well as social. And we really kind of listen to our customers and our community and what they're wanting to learn more about. We're doing some more information around kind of uptake channels related to micronutrients. There often can be, depending on your delivery mechanism, absorption issues if you're taking similar micronutrients or certain micronutrients at the same time. We have engineered our product to not have that happen. And so we're doing some education around that. Consumers are also very interested in information around kind of like energy and specific health conditions and how micronutrients play a role. But really have an entire content library across the board to help people learn and really deliver value beyond just our products and digital experience.
Yeah. That education piece is, I think, so important because you can tell consumers all day what they need, and doctors do that. But I think a large part of it is education and sustainability and really practicing it continuously. The education piece and the why behind what you're doing, not just what you're doing, is probably one of the most important pieces, I think.
Yeah, and it's a real way for people and brands to deliver value beyond their specific product offering. And I think consumers are hungry for kind of real information that is based on real sources like research in a world where there's a lot of information that isn't necessarily based on science or data or clinical studies.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you have this output, you get all the data that you need, and you have the opportunity now to interact with your consumer in recommending a way that they go or a supplement that they take. And I mean, in general, I'm assuming that you can't just solve all their problems at once. You have to be selective about what you're going to solve. And to an extent, you can only control so much. So I'm curious as to how you pick what you're going to try to target, and maybe how you filter out what you can't control or what you can't target.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a great question. And we've really focused first on our cellular nutrition foundational product, which has 19 vitamins, minerals, and specialty compounds. And all of those are chosen specifically because there is an abundance of research around how to personalize them and how different people's bodies process, utilize, metabolize those specific micronutrients differently based on data. There are other kind of specialty compounds or supplements that are available, but they don't have as much research behind how data points specifically, one specific data point can impact the dosing or the personalization. So we are not currently including a lot of those in our cellular nutrition foundational product. But where there is opportunity and where we'll likely see kind of going forward is that data can inform specific conditions that are more kind of impactful or relatable to a specific individual. For instance, you can see from lifestyle, blood, and genetic data that somebody may need more nutrients related to heart health support, or they may need a specific kind of stress management product or something that can help manage their stress during specific times that their body may be under added stress levels. Similarly with energy, if you're having an athlete or someone who's training during a specific time period, they may need a product that is more focused towards those energy levels. And that can all be discerned from looking at data and then recommending products that way. That might not have as much like 100% personalization research behind it, but there is an abundance of research around, okay, if your data says you need a specific kind of support product, here are support products that are based on that specific condition that you can kind of look at as well. So that is a less precision approach than 100% one-to-one personalization, but it's still using data to make more informed decisions around what you're putting in your body in a really scientific way.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, and speaking of all this, I want to dig a little bit more into Rootine and your company. I think it's such a great idea just in general, but I would love to talk about the process and what you typically do. So let's say I'm a consumer coming to you to Rootine. What do I have to do from conception to recommendation?
Yeah, it's the number one question we get. So it's a very easy 4-step process. You start by ordering your personalization tests or uploading your data. You can then view your results in your dashboard. Your formula is then created based on your data, delivered direct to your door. You take the products and then you can track your health over time using our tools. So we do monthly check-ins, and then consumers can, or subscribers can, update their blood levels and take additional blood testing kind of on a quarterly basis. But we track all of those outcomes and continuously update your formulas. So Rootine is dynamic. It is not a static product. So we're really meeting you where you are and supporting your body and your unique health needs and unique health goals consistently throughout the year.
Do you recommend a certain frequency of testing once you become, I guess, a user?
So based on our the advice from our co-founder and our clinical advisors, we look at, specifically on the blood testing side, quarterly test results. But other folks are doing testing at different cadences, often based on conversations with healthcare professionals or depending on where their deficiency levels are. Some folks will do it every 6 months if they don't really see any deficiencies. Other folks with more deficiencies will do it more often.
Awesome. Well, I think this is such great content. I'm so excited to share this. Where can people find Rootine?
Yeah, so our website is rootine.co, and you can also find us on social at Rootine, which is spelled ROOTINE _co on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. It was so great to talk, and I will have any of your contact information that you want available in the show notes, so anybody can reach out to Rootine in general, and also the website, of course.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great to be on, and excited to share more with more people around precision nutrition.
Absolutely.